Am I loud enough? And
If anything, too loud,
I can turn it down.
which is the way you would prefer it, I would imagine.
Mm.
So the Dark Souls 2,
Yeah, that came out recently.
2014,
We made it.
and I've stopped playing it, guys. Hi, I'm Ryan McLeod. Sorry.
Hi, that's Guy Woodward.
Guy,
Hello.
you there, guy?
I'm here.
I've stopped playing it, the Dark Souls 2. What do you think of that?
Still playing it?
I've stopped playing it.
Oh no, it's quite the opposite. Why? What's the trouble? It's you were looking forward to it, I thought.
I was really looking forward to it. It was the only thing I was looking forward to. Why have I stopped?
Ryan, why have you stopped?
Well, guy, see the item descriptions?
Ah, yes.
There's too many words in the items descriptions.
I find myself
Because
knowing what the items do.
after reading the description,
Mm.
yeah, well, that's against the spirit of Dark Souls. That's why I don't agree with it. Because in Dark Souls, you would read the item descriptions and you'd be none the wiser.
Fumbling through the darkness.
Exactly.
What doesn't help either that they've put jokes in some of the descriptions.
I like the jokes. You know. No.
I was fighting a big jobby.
The rotten.
It was a rotten jobby. It was just a big blob.
Did he have a knife?
Did he have a knife? I don't think so. I think he just had
Oh,
big hands.
you.
No, he had a cleaver.
Did
He
he?
had a big cleaver.
No,
Right.
guy. He's talking about the worm fellas rolling around.
Oh, the covetous demon.
No, it was a I don't know. It was a boss fight. It was just a big blob.
Aye, that'll be the covetous demon.
As if they went, we need 60 boss fights, and we've only got 13 ideas for bosses, and they just went, oh, a blob.
Well, I just fought a spider.
An ass spider.
A a spider, and it was just a big spider. You know, like you get in video games.
Aye, like a big skeleton or something like that.
Yeah.
Skeletons, spiders, and bats.
Which brings me to one of my complaints. So many enemies in this game feel like, well, first of all, there's far too many human sort of characters. 2 legs, 2 arms,
Mm-hmm.
knights. And when you're like I fought one of the first bosses. It was just a fat guy, like a guy who was a knight who was overweight. And I thought back to Dark Souls 1 when I fought the chap on the bridge, and it was this big monster, and when you finally defeated it, it felt like you defeated a big monster instead of just slaughtering a fat guy in a post office.
Mm-hmm.
And it's disappointing. And a lot of the other enemies feel a bit like second-hand Resident Evil 4 character monsters. Not to insult Resident Evil 4, but just they feel like just standard video game fare. Like a sorceress who throws a bit of magic at you and she wears a skirt.
It's all not just the boss fights, but it's all just a bit more video gamey.
Aye.
So there's something in particular, and it only seems like a trivial thing, but it's been really, really annoying me since the start of the game. And it's when you rest at a bonfire, and the bonfire repairs your armor and weapons.
Aye.
It's really annoying. Because how does that happen?
That's a thing I've heard people.
If your man takes a rest, he's allowed to heal. How does my sword heal? Because it's having a rest. It's fucking nonsense.
That's part of your accessibility. The game's more accessible
I don't
now.
want it to be more accessible.
I know, Nene is Dave, but that's what we've been fucking lumped with. It's
How do you feel about the quick travel being available right away?
It's too confusing. Because I'm like, I stopped playing it, I've stuck about 40 hours into it. And it wasn't just the rubbish boss, it was also the fact that I was putting on, I didn't know where I was going. And the reason I didn't know where I was gone was because you don't learn the areas as thoroughly as you do in previous Souls games because
aye.
you don't have to because you've just got the bonfire there.
In Dark Souls, I'd gotten so used to traveling around that I'm pretty confident that I could be a taxi driver in the Undead Burg.
No, you wouldn't get the taxi down a lot of the wee narrow
I
passages.
didn't even think of that. Please don't put that in. I'm fucking embarrassed now. I sound stupid.
So you don't live, you know what I mean, you don't become part of the world in the same way as you do with the other Souls games
I
because
totally get that.
you're not as invested as you are because you're just zooming about. There's an area, is it the Shaded Woods, the bit that's all foggy?
Mm-hmm.
Aye.
And I've been through that area once and only once because once you've been through it, you realise
That's
that
it.
there's a bonfire on either side of it, so
Aye.
you never need to go into it again, which is fucking ridiculous. You want to be sick of the sight of places. That's the true spirit of
Aye.
Dark Souls.
I mean, I can run about Dark Souls 1 with my shirt, basically, and I know where I'm going. But, like you're saying, being able to just jump between all the bonfires instantly.
And
I'm on.
even if you don't know where you're going, you could get a taxi.
Aye.
Owen could drive you.
Fuck it.
I don't know if they'll finish the game, so maybe not. I'm not allowed to have that opinion.
No, man, I mean, I'm about a quarter through New Game Plus right now, and I was getting folk telling me, no, New Game Plus is the real Dark Souls, which is a fucking stupid fucking thing to say. It should be Dark Souls from the get go, but I'm flying through it still. Like, the bosses are nothing. So, I don't know what that says. And I'm no really good at Dark Souls. I play Dark Souls at your kind of most basic level, sword and shield, strong cunt, honours of health, that's it.
That
But
doesn't mean that you're no good at it though.
no, but I mean there's folk that really get right involved, and they perfect their build to have this killing machine, and as long as I can roll about with Hunter's armour on and chop shit to bits,
And
that does me any bother.
the game,
Aye,
right?
no in my real life.
But you won, bro. Dark Souls.
I did, and I think that didn't help this either. That after what a fucking like adventure it was to do Dark Souls 1 as a one, bro, that this just seemed too fucking easy by comparison. Like, because I was able to level up and I could get really good weapons and I wasn't lumped with just the club for the start, and I don't know, maybe I expect it too much. Maybe,
It's no for us. Dark Souls 2. They never made it for us.
no.
Well, I was always absolutely terrible at Dark Souls, but Dark Souls 2, like I started fighting that spider boss like an hour ago. I didn't do it the first time, but like 3 or 4 goes, I know what I'm doing, and was just able to do it. Whereas, like, I should be turning on Dark Souls, knowing that I'm stuck at a bit for ages and going like, this is it. I'm gonna do it today, and I could get to the end of that day and not be past it.
Aye.
But that's what made the victory so. Like when I beat that spider boss just now, it was the absolute mildest. Woo! On to the next. On to the next big animal. And yeah, there's been bosses I've walked into and I was able to take care of them on the first or second go. and that just
Aye.
shouldn't happen. Especially,
was-
I can't imagine how someone who is like actually really, really good at the game. I mean, they must be furious because if I'm
Well,
able to do that,
I took doing most bosses first time. There was maybe 3 that gave me a bit of trouble, but that was like the boss wasn't hard. There was like an artificial difficulty thrown in because they just gave the boss minions. So it was more that the boss fight was hard because you were trying to watch like 10 different enemies at once rather than just focus on the bit. Like even that spider. That's the only reason the spider gave me trouble was the wee spiders kicking about.
the wee spiders killed me more than the spider.
Well,
Aye, that's
this is another thing that I was going to mention about not just the boss fights, but the combat in general. It makes me very suspicious that there's so many areas in the game where you get ambushed by loads and loads of guys.
aye 5 or 6 at a time.
It happens all the time. You run into a room and there's 5 guys chasing you, and I don't really remember that ever happening in Dark Souls at all.
I have definitely been killed more times from the side than in any other way during my
Aye,
playthrough of this. And it's
There's
like,
nothing-
I
It's not got anything to do with skill. If you're getting attacked by 5 things, you'll just get bounced about like a pinball. You'll be dead.
Aye.
mm,
Especially when their attacks don't connect with each other.
Aye.
But they all connect with you.
I finished Dark Souls 1 without summoning any other players for help, and I was hoping to do that again with this, but the boss fight with the 3 lanky fellas,
Aye.
it was just like, is this the game telling me you have to summon someone here? Because if I'm fighting one and I get fucking pinged by some cunt next to me who I can't see, like this, I'm perfectly willing to try again to do it solo, but if it just repeatedly happens that an enemy you cannot see is killing you with an attack that you cannot be prepared for, then it beat me down until I went, okay, I'll summon someone else, and I summoned someone else, and of course, absolutely effortless, got them in one, because there was just someone else to take the attention of the other.
Aye.
And
Aye,
that's
it's a
not,
distraction more than help.
yeah, I didn't
So,
feel like I was fighting with them even, they just dealt with one somewhere else.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. I joined the Guild of Champions at the start and was finding it quite difficult. But I think if I do finish it and move on to NG Plus, I don't think that it's going to change the experience that much because I don't think there's anything that it will be doing that's new. It will just be more hits. It will just be bigger numbers.
That's exactly what it's saying. You do half damage, enemies do twice as much, and there's red phantoms about the place. That's about it.
And that's
and
making
some enemies are different.
and that's making people say that's the real game.
Aye. Which just sounds like somebody who can't admit that their favourite series isn't doing that well this time. You know, it's like that. This band's still good. No, they're shite. No, they're still good. It's that. Not
Well-
able to admit it.
But despite all this, I still like, and I haven't finished it yet, but I've put many hours into it. It's not shit. It's so close to what was like Dark Souls 1. I mean, it's so close to it that I just can't bring myself to say like, oh well, this is fucking rubbish. It's just made it just, if anything, it goes to show how perfect Dark Souls 1 was, because all they've done in a desperate attempt to justify this being a new game, they've made little changes and they've all ruined it, because that goes to show how perfect they had it the first time.
But they've made little changes and they've also made it like much bigger, and I don't get why that is. It's such a mainstream philosophy and way of looking at it that you need to stick all that value and you need to give them more value. It can't be as small as Demon Souls because people will be disappointed, and it hasn't worked.
I definitely think there should have been a focus on maybe making it smaller but just tighter, like refined, because there's areas I've run through where, I don't doubt that they worked hard on every bit, so I'm not going to throw out that accusation of lazy or not tested enough, but it just feels like maybe spread too thin.
Mm-hmm.
You really could have focused and made it could have been half the size and gotten away with it if it was just incredibly fucking good. And by incredibly fucking good, I mean as good as Dark Souls 1.
It's quite a lot. It's quite a lengthy period of time. I mean, again, I've only played about half it, but I found lengthy periods of time where I wasn't doing anything. I was running from place to place. Then you get jumped by a load of things, and then it's like the placement of the baddies is like it's almost as if somebody you can see them dragging the mouse over the map and going, "We need one there, we need one there. We'll put 5 there. We'll need another one there," just to kind of keep you occupied. It doesn't feel as organic as Dark Souls.
The interesting enemies I met along the way are the ones where you only fight them once. And every now and then there's a larger enemy instead of
Aye.
the handful of 5 guys who are going to ambush you. And they treat them like mini bosses who you only get to experience once. And you just think, instead of those little ambushes, just give us those medium-sized mini bosses or whatever you want to call them now and then. Instead of that, would have been much better, and obviously continue to respawn.
I think an awful lot of the boss fights could have fallen into that category, though. It's because you're used to Dark Souls it being a major event getting to a boss fight. It's like quite a lot of are an anticlimax in this because they don't really feel like boss fights.
I think you stumble into a lot of them now. You just kind of, you think it's just a normal fog gate and you go, alright, it's a boss. But there's no even like a wee cut scene to add importance to it or anything. So it's like, alright, I'm fighting this thing. Alright, that's it, deed. Now what? And there wasn't any, I don't know, there's no as many memorable boss fights this time.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you're talking, I think there's about 32 bosses. Because there's 2 optional bosses I've no killed, and I've got 30 boss souls in my inventory, so I'm guessing there's about 32. And I can remember off the top of my head maybe about 7 of them.
Can you remember the really rubbish one on the ghost ship?
Aye.
That was really rubbish.
I remember that because the AI fucked up and
it just stood there and let me hit it. That's how I killed it.
It did that with me the first time, and then on New Game Plus, I summoned in that Lucatiel of Mira, her with the mask on, and she didn't even come in the fog gate. She just stood outside the fog gate, waiting for me to batter it. So I don't know what's going on. I've tried a couple of summons for bosses, and the AI hasn't really done anything.
Oh no!
But be a distraction.
If you got hurt badly enough, she tosses you oranges, healing oranges. Did you not? Now look, don't blame the game just because you were doing it wrong. She tosses you oranges.
She threw me ammo at one point. No, I don't have the same. I don't feel compelled to play it.
Oh, no,
it's the biggest disappointment for it. I don't feel that drive and force that I have to get through this area. It just doesn't exist. I'm just running through it. When I know where I'm going, I'm just running through it, which is a massive disappointment. I wouldn't say it's shit, but
no, I mean it's still better than 90% of the games out there, but it's not a great Souls game.
Aye.
I think that's what it is.
I'm going to start Dragon's Dogma instead.
I do that.
See how that goes.
If the first Souls game I'd played was Dark Souls 2, I think I'd find myself saying to other people, I don't see what all the fuss is about.
Yeah.
It was somehow the magic just isn't there. Like walking around in Dark Souls, all I needed to feel enamored with the Dark Souls one was just walking around, just moments where I'd turn around and I'd just see like certain landscapes and certain enemies, and then some of the bosses. I just have to walk around and look at stuff. Never even mind the incredibly good gameplay that I was just being in that world seemed so. You just wanted to spend more time there, and it's if you're going to be playing these games for hours and hours and hours, you want that world to be somewhere that you're going to be very excited to jump back into every time. But Dark Souls 2 isn't that way.
It's going to have sold an awful lot of copies as well from fans of the series, selling it to people and saying, oh, it's no like other games.
Aye.
And Dark Souls 2 is like other games.
Yeah.
You were talking about, Owen, you were talking about was it the Bell Tower fight you were talking about? From the first one.
What was I saying?
And how it felt like you defeated like something major and you got that adrenaline rush.
Oh, absolutely. It's just like if you're downing this massive beast, this monster that's so intimidating because you're shown it just enough before you fight it to feel like I don't stand a chance. And to finally conquer it.
For me, it was after that. It was in the Darkroot woods when you see just off in the distance, you see the Hydra.
Oh, aye.
And you think, surely it's not going to ask me to fight them. and it does. You have to go through the Hydra.
Actually, Dark Souls 1 is full of those moments. Like, so many times you get to see something in the distance beforehand that makes you both scared and excited to... And you doubt it as well. There's like... that's just gonna be a background thing. I'm not gonna. They don't expect me. But yeah, Dark Souls 2. It feels a lot more like Step Behind the Mist. Oh, there was a fella there. He's got a sword. It's another man.
The what is it? The last Sinner guy. He was alright to fight, but it was just a complete rehash.
I thought he was a bit boring.
That was Artorias, basically.
It was basically.
Artorias, but a less interesting enemy design in an incredibly less interesting arena. I mean, that was a fucking oval with walls.
And then you kill him, and you're just in a room. You're just in an empty room. And it's like, all right, okay. I'll just teleport somewhere else now that I'm just in a dead end. For all its talk as well, Dark Souls 2, it's like that fight never really meant anything. Didn't they know anything about that character? Didn't they really?
It's hard to think of dead ends in Dark Souls 1.
Everything links in together quite nicely.
No, I know what you mean. Like you're saying, you kill the lost sinner and then it's just a fucking bonfire. All warp back to Majula and fucking go another way now. Obviously, I get they were trying to make Majula like the Nexus for Demon's Souls. That was your hub. But I think when you're calling it a sequel to Dark Souls, it should at least retain the, like you're saying, that the idea that everything kind of links round back to each other, so you're never getting somewhere and that's you just, boom, you can't go any further, go back. So I don't know.
It helps maintain the idea that you're trapped somewhere, the fact that everything links in together.
Aye.
And you're going through the same areas over and over again. That's what I mean. You inhabit the environment, or you feel that you inhabit it.
You exist there.
You're trapped. And I'm not trapped in Dark Souls 2 because I'm not playing it again. Well, I might play it again.
I think it's worth finishing just to see if you still feel the same at the end. But
Does anything people have said to me on Twitter? There's a major events that might change my mind.
Major events?
No, nothing. Cool.
Well, that just shows you if I can't think of them off the top of my head, and I'm playing the game as we speak, so I don't know what they're talking about. Mind you, I mean, I felt like I appreciated. Obviously, I really enjoyed Dark Souls 1, but then I appreciated a lot of it even more once bits of the lore were all pieced together. So obviously it gave certain things that you maybe thought was nothing, it gave it a bit more meaning.
Are you suggesting, Guy, that Dark Souls 2 is nothing more than an attempt by From Software to shift more copies of Dark Souls 1? It's the
Oh.
most elaborate advertising campaign that they've ever come up with.
But just expecting everybody to go, I play the first one.
Yeah,
It's just a 60-hour advert for Dark Souls. That's ingenious.
this is where we start piping in the Pixies song slowly to take us home.
Oh, Christ.
Where is my mind? I'm playing to the end of Dark Souls 2 to find out where is my mind.
You can fucking fix life protection rings as well.
Oh,
I
I
can't
know.
believe that hasn't come up yet. You can repair rings, which completely breaks the whole mechanic of the game.
I haven't been doing that, but it does sound daft.
No, I've seen people using that. Even then, I'm using the Ring of Binding, which makes me basically never have to be in human form. It caps my hollow health at 75%, so even if I keep dying, it will never go down to 50%. So, I mean, you're talking three quarters of your health bar, but it's still plenty if you've got a good sized health bar. I never need to be human unless I want to summon somebody.
When
And I
I
rarely ever summon somebody.
when I
So,
first used that ring, I was under the impression that it had that cap that was a bit more generous than what I was stuck with before, but I was not going to be able to get health higher than that. And then as I leveled up, oh well, there you
Aye.
go. So the only negative is losing one ring slot, but it's such a massive positive. You'd like I can't imagine taking it off.
so why would you know? Why would you want to avoid being human, guy? Because I've been playing mainly as human.
What, like, for what benefit though? Is there a reason you've been doing that? Or,
Just because I've been using the life protection ring, so
well, see, I've no used any of them. It's basically the Ring of Binding, and then I've got like the Clothanery ring, the stamina one,
stamina. Uh-huh.
and then one that just kind of gives everything a wee boost, and something else. But I'm quite happy being hollow. The wee bit of health that's off at the end of my health bar means nothing.
I don't know, maybe I've ruined it for myself a wee bit then, just by using the healing ring and the
I think
um
this one is a lot more generous
aye.
to the player because know that it's been nicer to you, but you're given far more advantages early on than you ever were in Dark Souls. And I understand that's part of the accessibility they talked about. And then apologise for using the word accessible, but it just feels. I hate saying they've made it too easy. That's bullshit. There's folk that are struggling with this game, but when you know the amount of people that were so deep into Dark Souls and they loved it and they mastered all the mechanics, this just doesn't feel as if it's up to par with that at all. It feels like a step backwards. This could have been Dark Souls 1, and Dark Souls 1 could have been Dark Souls 2. That's the way it feels.
I think it's probably a testament to how much attention to detail they had in Dark Souls 1 though, because
Aye.
as much as it's much smaller in Dark Souls, Dark Souls also feels a lot more varied than this one because this one feels a bit samey, like throughout it. Where's Seath? You know what I mean? Where's all the different looking areas?
Aye.
The inside of that fucking windmill looks like it came off an N64.
Are you on the phone, Owen?
I just needed to show that in there because there was a point, like I think there's bits where it looks gorgeous and it's got lovely design and so on, but when I was inside that fucking windmill and I looked around, there was a moment where I looked at the walls and these big cogs and I thought that looks like a fucking level from Mario on the N64.
Oh,
The
I know the bit you're talking about.
the graphics look shocking in there.
I'm looking at footage right now, and some of the characters look like characters from what's the online multiplayer game? where all the weirdos live.
World of Warcraft.
No, the other one, where you can design your avatar.
Second Life.
Second Life, that's what it looks like. Dark Souls 2 looks a bit like Second Life.
I'm annoyed that I mentioned Resident Evil 4 not like rubbish side characters, because that's not the example. What I wanted to use was a lot of the character designs feel like the kind of stuff that gets rejected from being in a God of War portable game.
Yeah.
It's just going to join the ranks of those video games that there's always been, where a game came out that was really, really fucking good. Like when it blows everyone away, everyone's talking about it, and the sequel comes out, and even though the sequel is not bad, it just gets completely forgotten as time goes by, because it fails to improve on anything and is just overall weaker than the one that impressed everyone so much. There's countless examples of this.
God, that's depressing.
You mentioned it was the only thing you were looking forward to in your life, like in every regard. It was the one thing,
Pretty much.
the one shining light, and it's turned to shit in your hands.
Shit. Yeah.
Turned to shit in your hands.
There's not even enough in Dark Souls 2 for me to have a glimmer of hope that there's going to be another good Dark Souls game either. Unless they completely start from scratch and get new people in, I don't think it's going to happen.
Well, I think getting new people in is what might have fucked this one.
Aye.
I think, see, without Miyazaki directing it, I'm not saying that's all to blame, but I think that's what's had a huge impact on the kind of finished experience.
If they hadn't had the assets of Dark Souls when they were making this game, fuck knows what it would have turned out like. Because an awful lot of the time, when I was playing it, I felt as if I was doing it out of politeness, you know what I mean, out of respect for Dark Souls. I was playing it. So if they hadn't had Dark Souls to fall back on, I think it might have been like entirely forgettable.
Everything I've enjoyed most in Dark Souls 2, and there have been quite a few times where I have been enjoying it, but all those times is when it's reminding me most of Dark Souls 1.
Yeah.
Aye.
When it's closest to being like Dark Souls 1, that's when it's at its strongest.
Which is really fucking sad when you think it. Like, you're still continuing on with this in hope of having more bits like Dark Souls 1.
Mm.
But it's bigger. There's lots of it. It's not very good. I mean, it's all right, but there's a lot of it. So
Standard sequel problem. We have to make it bigger. Not as good. We have to make it bigger. It's going to be bigger this time, and it doesn't matter at all that the quality drops. It's bigger. It is more. It's happening all over the place.
it's going to have the graphics. They're not going to be as good, but there's going to be more of them.
The windmill looks fucking rubbish, but there wasn't one in Dark Souls 1, so count your blessings.
I don't know where's this windmill.
It's surrounded by poison. You don't even want to go there.
I fucking fell down a hole in that shady woods bit and fucking walked through poison and all my shit broke and I just couldn't be bothered. That's when I turned it off. So I can't be. My healing ring broke and it was going to cost 15,000 souls to get it fixed. So on the one hand I'm complaining about that healing ring even existing, but on the other hand I'm complaining that it was going to cost 15,000 to get it repaired, so I just turned it off. I don't know.
You all heard it here. Ryan McLeod only did not like Dark Souls 2 because he was shit at it. That's it. It's a 10 out of 10, but Ryan was shit at it, so he knocked it down.
I'm no shit at it, I'm pretty good at it. I think we're very negative about that. Can you think of any positives?
I mean, it's negative, and there's folk that will defend it to the fucking death, and maybe they do enjoy it, but it's not. It's clearly no as good. It's just no. And that's no this, oh, I don't like it because it's a sequel. It just, Disney, like you're saying, you don't get the same fucking feeling. There's no the same. Half the bosses you fight and you go, oh, that was a mild inconvenience. And that's it. There's no like, oh, I need to fucking sit my controller down. And it just, this is me trying to be positive.
Mm-hmm.
I'll try my best. Look, I played it for over 100 hours or so, and if I was hating the experience, if I really didn't like it, I wouldn't have played it for over 100 hours. I'd have turned it off after 5.
Mm.
Maybe tried for 10, but really, like, I have very, very little patience when it comes to games that I'm not actually completely enjoying. So, I mean, look, it is more Dark Souls. If you played Dark Souls 1 and you loved it, it's like a disappointing DLC pack for it, but it's massive. But still, I mean, everyone who wants it has bought it. I suppose this is all warning for the PC people, but
At least it'll look nice on the PC though.
Mm-hmm. No like those screenshots, but still, nice.
Mm. It's alright, isn't it? It's fine. You know what I mean?
Aye,
It's
alright.
fine. It is. It's fine.
It's still better than most games.
Is it better than Dragon's Dogma?
Eh, well, that's terrible, actually, having to think. I mean, I really enjoyed Dragon's Dogma, but there's a lot about Dragon's Dogma you've got to forgive. Like frame rate and shit, like fucking shits itself at some bits.
I'm not bothered about that.
But I mean, it's good fun. It's good fun. Dragon's Dogma. There's a lot of folk say there's a lot of traipsing back and forth, but that's only if you don't know how to use the. You get like crystals you can place down so you can walk back to places, and I think a lot of folk ignore them, so they were running miles between areas. But no, it's good fun.
Cool.
You can climb on a griffin's back and knock fuck out it as it flies through the air. It's good fun like that.
Is it kind of is it similarly open world kind of feeling?
Oh, it's yeah, totally open for the beginning. There's like 1 or 2 areas open with like mission specific, but plus there's hundreds of fucking ways to fail quests, which is kind of annoying. But
How do you mean?
like sometimes just accepting one quest will fail another that you've not even finished yet, which can be awful annoying. But it makes sense with the story. So maybe like if I had read the quest description a bit better, I would have realised that, well, of course that person can't be rescued because they're dead. That's why this mission started. But no, it's good. Good fun.
I'm trying it next. I'll need to find something to review as well, but I'm just gonna take a break for Dark Souls. Maybe
Aye.
come back to it.
Well, I've just been a wee bit disappointed because as I'm running through an area of the new, you know that big spider boss?
Mm-hmm.
Well, she's not where she should be. She's out in the fucking open world where I've just killed 2 normal wee enemies, turned a corner, and there she is spitting acid at me. And this is obviously something to do with New Game Plus, or it's a horrendous glitch. But
What happens? And I saw somebody saying that something special happens in things betwixt when you go into New Game Plus. Is there anything
oh,
fancy in there?
right, it's one tiny wee thing. When you start, you know, you're kind of in the middle of that wee platform. Round the outside, there's about 5 new enemies. They're called falconers. And it's just cunts with a sword, falcon on their arm, falcon flies at you. That's it. That's
You
your
fight them?
special, but aye, they just come straight at you on New Game Plus. And that's it. That's the biggest change so far, apart from this spider being out in the open.
Brilliant. I was thinking that maybe
I can't think
like
a big thing's changing.
they don't do that thing where they kind of ruin Majula or anything like that at any point and take that away from you.
No, nothing like that. If anything, more people like show up there, so you've got a kind of market going.
For fuck's sake.
I know.
Because that's what I mean. It's nice and pretty that place, but
aye.
I'm always thinking this isn't. This shouldn't be here. I shouldn't feel secure in an
Aye,
area.
safe.
That's why I was assuming they would maybe take it away, but no.
No, I can't think what the thing that would blow people away was. What I've enjoyed is there's some boss fights where you can make it a wee bit easier if you want.
How do
Which
you
is
do that?
kind of shite, but it's nice to have the option. Like, see the Lost Sinner.
Aye.
If you fought the Belfry, have you been up to the Belfry Luna? I think it's called.
What is that, a pub?
Aye. It's
No,
up the top of the Lost Bastille.
I went to
Is it
the
another boss?
Belfry Soul,
Aye.
but not Luna.
The Belfry Luna. See, it's awful easy to miss. I missed it.
Don't think-
You see when you're going through the Lost Bastille, there's a bit where you pass a cell and this thing breathes fire out at you to try and kill you,
Aye.
and it's just next to a bonfire.
Uh-huh.
Doing the steps next to that bonfire, there's one of the Pharos lockstones, and that opens the way to this Belfry Luna. You go up there, you fight a boss, and you find a key, and then see how outside the Lost Sinner's fog gate, there's 2 cell doors up the top, left and right.
Uh-huh.
The key unlocks them, and in there, if you've got a torch, you can set fire to some stuff, and it lights up the boss arena for the Lost Sinner, which slows him down slightly. That's why you see when he stands up in the cutscene, that's why he blows the flames out with his sword, because he's faster in the dark. I don't know why.
Alright.
And then there's another enemy where you're lying.
You'd have to be really dedicated to making things slightly easier, wouldn't you?
Aye. And there's another enemy, I can't remember her name. She's in like a pool of poison. So during the hail fight, you're getting poisoned constantly. But there's a way to drain the poison to make it a bit easier.
But
just wee
these
things like that.
fights are already easy enough.
Yes.
Well, I
didn't find out until
those things would be great if the bosses were as hard as in Dark Souls 1.
Aye.
Because you'd feel like it'd be worth going through all that, but you will definitely have them killed before making that worth your while. Which is a shame.
What did you think of the old Dragon Slayer?
Is that the one right at the start or close to the start?
Aye. In that Hyde's Tower of Flame.
That's just the fat guy, wasn't it?
No, the dragon.
Or the one who
The one with the arrow with the sword.
the one
who looks
Ornstein.
like, yeah.
Aye,
I couldn't decide if that was meant to be like some sort of like throwback that we were meant to be really excited about, or
I think
just
it was.
rubbish and lazy.
Well, when I first walked in, I found myself just staring, going, "Oh fucking hell!" And he killed me in like 2 hits. And then after that, I killed him. But I was expecting something big to happen when I killed him.
Yeah.
Like maybe a wee nod.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh, remember that's. But no, I don't know. It felt kind of throwaway.
They already had the asset, so the guy just moved his mouse out the map and dropped that character design into that room.
Had you killed him and you have a moment of feeling like, oh, I got him, and then suddenly the hammer comes down, and but something like that would be exciting.
Aye.
Remember excitement? No. But yeah, and also if it is just him there to be a wink wink, remember?
Aye.
That's cool. Well, that should have been in much later than just
I know,
like
right?
you're not at the start of Dark Souls 2 waiting for, hey, where's all the references to the other game? Come on, am I supposed to feel like, yeah, it's not good.
I mean, there's a few wee nods here and there. They're subtle, but like, have you been to the mansion in Majula?
Not yet.
Mm-hmm. Where the flame guy is? With the map?
Aye.
Aye.
No, I've not been in.
Down in there, when you go through the bottom and there's like a chest, I think you get a Estes shard or something like that.
Aye.
If you look on the floor, there's like a pot that's all smashed. It's the fucking Lord vessel.
Oh, right.
All smashed into bits. So I don't know what that means. I don't know what it's meant to, but it's it in pieces. So there's wee things like that.
I'm sure if anybody knew what it meant, they would explain it in detail.
Oh fuck! See that? That did get me. That did get me. That see the fucking when you get into the memories and there's a guy lying wounded and it's like, oh, I wonder who he is. Tells you his whole name, where he's from, and everything that's happened up to this point. I can guess what's happened. You're lying next to a big pile of rubble and there's giants outside. I know what fucking happened.
What I don't know, what something I can't explain though, is I don't know how a Heed can be a merchant, because if I want to rob that cunt, there's nothing I can do about it.
Oh, what fucking Vengal.
Aye.
See, I didn't
There's-
realise he was a Heed at first. I thought it was meant to be that his body had been turned to stone.
Yeah, I kept
And then I
rotating the
realised that
camera
was-
to see
Aye.
Until
Realised
what
it-
he was.
You probably realised that he was just a Heed when he specifically told you that he was a Heed,
That's
and
when
that
I
you,
figured
That
it
was
out.
exactly it.
and he says you'll definitely run into my headless corpse at some point.
which is kind of shite though, because I didn't find him until this playthrough. So when I was near one of the last fights, and it's like, oh, can summon somebody. Who the fuck is Vengal? Because you meet everybody else you can summon at some point, and I had no idea who that was. And then second time around, I finished Heed, and I don't actually remember fighting just a corpse at any point. So I don't know what that was about.
They've done a lot of damage to the guys who like to talk about the lore of the Dark Souls universe by really no leaving enough gaps for interpretation.
Aye.
But it's fine. It's fine. 7 out of 10.
Right, my final thought is basically it's only bad by comparison to two of the best video games ever made. So
Oh, aye.
take
Aye.
what you will from that.
Aye.
That's the nicest thing I think I can say, and it's still a pretty nice thing to say. So that's that.
I mean, look, did you enjoy the Gwen fight?
And one,
And I don't. That's not a spoiler. He's no in this. Don't worry.
I
I enjoyed
which-
it because
Oh, he's the last guy, right?
I enjoyed it because after all the shit you went through and all the huge things, it's just a guy you're fighting.
Aye.
Like that was it. Come down to it, and it's just a guy, and he's went mental after years because he's convinced everybody's trying to get rid of him and take his place. And I enjoyed that. And I'll not spoil anything, but see the fucking end of this. It's very pantomime.
Oh.
It's very, ha! It was me. It's
That's what I mean about if they didn't have Dark Souls to fall back on, I wonder what this game would have been.
aye. Put it this way. There's somebody. if they hadn't said anything, I wouldn't have realised who the last boss was. But they basically come out and go, remember me, I'm such and such, and now I'm bad and I'm going to do you in. And I feel
Is
like
it-
great thinking about it. It's bad. That is bad.
Is it Savile?
Go
No,
say
they-
yes.
No,
Now-
there's,
now
I mean,
now
this is a massive spoiler for the book. Have either of you read the Dark Tower books, the Stephen King books?
Nope.
The ending of Dark Souls 2 always kind of reminded me of the end of the Dark Tower series. You might probably never read them, but I mean, there's 7 long books about it set in this universe. But the climax of the last book is they meet the Crimson King, who is the man responsible. It's set in like multiple universes across different timelines, and everything is collided and falling apart, and it's all happening because of the Crimson King. And they get to the final boss, and they see they meet the Crimson King in his tower, and he's just an old guy who's went insane. That's the end of the book. He's just an old nutter in a tower in a cell. And the end of Dark Souls reminded me of that.
Aye.
I'm imagining that things won't build like that in Dark Souls 2 because quite a lot of the stuff's similar throughout anyway. So it couldn't really come to a conclusion as nice as that.
Oh, that boss isn't even attacking me.
The spider.
I'm standing right in front of her, and she's no got the boss health bar that was there 2 seconds ago. She's doing nothing. I'm No can fuck out her face with my sword and nothing's happening.
Are the dogs in your playthrough idiots?
In
Because
what way? They jump past me all the
they
time.
either just don't jump past me or they just stone and wait to get hit.
Sometimes I don't
Aye.
know if I should hit them because they seem like they're just animals that, are part of the world.
But just inhabiting this, they're the nice ones.
Yeah, and some of them, like if they're jumping past me and around me, I
It
feel
might-
like
It
it's
might
just
be
cruel.
might be a merchant.
You don't want to kill it and then turn a corner and the guy's like, oh, I'll sell you this stuff cheap. Have you seen my dog?
I think
Right.
the same reason it's so hard to put your finger on what's wrong with Dark Souls 2 is for the same reason that it's quite difficult to put your finger on what makes Dark Souls 1 so special. There is, for lack of a better term, there's a magic, there's something, like it's obviously possessed or something, and we've all let demons into our homes, but they're good demons, and the point is they're not in Dark Souls 2. Whatever that thing is, I
Or
think.
if they are in it, they're lost and they haven't found you yet. They might.
Miyazaki put his own blood on all those Dark Souls discs or something like that.
He probably sold his soul.
Get onto the lore, guys. All those lore YouTube channels, they should be getting to the bottom of this.